Two 10-kilogram improvised explosive devices detonate beneath a single vehicle. Every soldier walks away alive. That moment sealed the Bushmaster as the backbone of Australia's military. But the real story begins decades earlier, with a decision most have never heard of. In 1987, a single line in Australia's defense white paper set off a chain reaction. The country needed a vehicle that could protect troops from the new threats appearing on battlefields across the globe. The answer would not come overnight. Behind closed doors, government planners began mapping out requirements for a homegrown solution, one that could survive landmines and ambushes, yet still move quickly across rough country. By the mid-1990s, these ambitions took shape in the form of a contract. In 1996, the government committed 100 million Australian dollars to build 40 vehicles at a new facility in Bendigo, Victoria. This was more than just a purchase order. It was a bet on Australian engineering, local jobs, and a new approach to troop protection. The decision anchored the program in real numbers and real places. It also set a hard deadline: deliver a prototype that could meet the demands of a modern battlefield or risk falling behind global trends. The first batch would be just the beginning, but the stakes were clear. Lives, dollars, and national capability were locked in from the start. Engineers faced a daunting challenge: how to shield soldiers from the kind of blasts that were turning conventional troop carriers into death traps. The answer came in the form of a radical redesign: a monocoque, V-shaped hull that would become the Bushmaster's signature. Instead of relying on heavy, bolted-on armor, the team built the entire shell as a single, rigid structure. This gave the vehicle a unique strength, but it was the V-hull geometry underneath that changed everything. By angling the steel at a precise degree, the hull could deflect the force of an explosion outwards, away from the cabin, rather than letting it punch straight up through the floor. Early test runs pushed the limits. The Bushmaster consistently survived underbelly blasts of up to 10 kilograms of TNT, a threshold that most rivals at the time could not match. The design team did not just chase numbers, they watched as test dummies inside walked away from simulated mine strikes. That kind of survivability did not come easy, and it did not come cheap, but it set the bar for what a protected mobility vehicle could be. The result was a platform that made later claims about real-world performance not just believable, but measurable. A Bushmaster rolls out of the depot, stretching 6.6 meters from nose to tail and standing 2.65 meters high. Under the armored skin, a Caterpillar C 7.1 diesel engine produces 224 kilowatts, enough to move this 14-ton machine up to 100 kilometers per hour on open road. The 7-speed Allison automatic transmission and independent coil spring suspension keep the ride steady over rock, sand, or mud. With 430 millimeters of ground clearance and a central tire inflation system, the Bushmaster is not just built for highways, it fords streams, climbs slopes up to 60%, and powers through deep sand without breaking stride. Inside, the cabin seats up to 9 troops plus 2 crew, all protected by a monocoque hull rated to STANAG 4569, Level 2 or Level 3. That means the steel can stop 7.62mm armor-piercing rounds and deflect blasts from up to 10 kilograms of TNT under the hull. Fuel tanks, shielded by armor, give a range of 800 kilometers, enough to cross the outback or patrol Afghan valleys in a single run. Mean time between failures averages 2,500 hours, outpacing most rivals in its class. But this kind of protection and reliability comes at a cost. Weight limits airlift options, and every extra ton of armor trims payload. The numbers behind the Bushmaster are more than specs. They are the difference between making it home or not when the shooting starts. On the morning of May 19, 2010, a Bushmaster convoy rolled down the Khosrow Khan to Kandahar Road, deep in Afghanistan's IED belt. 2 blasts, each packing 10 kilograms of explosives, detonated beneath the lead vehicle. The shockwave lifted the 12-ton machine off the ground. Inside, the crew felt the floor flex and the seats jolted, as the V-shaped hull did its job, deflecting the force outwards. When the dust settled, every soldier inside was alive. 2 soldiers walked away with minor injuries, patched up on the spot. The Bushmaster itself, battered but intact, was back on the road after a field repair. The mission continued. That day was not an outlier. Over the course of the Afghan campaign, Bushmasters logged more than 12,000 sorties and 4.9 million kilometers in some of the world's most dangerous corridors. Survival rates topped 95%, even after direct hits. For the crews, statistics became stories. One composite voice from the ADF recalls that the moment the explosion hit, it felt like the vehicle rode the blast like a wave, and nothing else could have saved us. The numbers and the memories both point to the same truth. When the enemy tried to stop the convoy, the Bushmaster kept it moving. But for every story of survival, there is a question that lingers. How far can protection and mobility really go before the limits are reached? When disaster struck Christchurch in February 2010, the first Bushmasters arrived less than a week later, rolling straight into shattered streets that standard vehicles could not cross. With debris blocking access and aftershocks still rattling the city, these armored carriers became lifelines, ferrying medical teams, moving supplies, and evacuating the injured when every minute counted. Their high ground clearance and all-terrain drive let them reach neighborhoods cut off from help, while ambulance variants doubled as mobile triage centers. New Zealand Defence Force liaisons called them a critical enabler of life-saving relief. The same formula played out again in the Pacific, where Bushmasters slashed logistics times by 30% during a 2024 Fiji exercise. Whether in war or disaster, the vehicle's flexibility keeps it at the center of Australia's response, on and off the battlefield. A single Bushmaster now carries a price tag of 2.45 million Australian dollars, a figure that has risen as more armor and digital tech have been added. The 2025 government order, worth 100 million Australian dollars for 40 vehicles, guarantees work for 250 people in Bendigo, keeping local skills alive. Early production runs hit snags. Transmission overheating and desert heat prompted a fleet-wide cooler retrofit in 2009, and a 2014 tire issue led to a reinforced bead design. Every extra ton of armor trims payload, forcing a constant balance between protection and utility. Recent upgrades push the platform into new territory. A hybrid electric demo, left-hand drive for exports, and counter-drone technology are all on the roadmap. Each fix and feature keeps the Bushmaster relevant, but the cost of staying ahead is never static. Right now, lives depend on every design trade-off. The Bushmaster's legacy isn't just protection, it's the question: what risks are we willing to accept next? Drop your thoughts below.